October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The moniker, however, remains only that, just another name for a month. The seriousness and the implications of breast cancer for the most part is lost on us. That globally 1 in 1,000 males gets breast cancer, which is fatal, that 1 in 8 women get breast cancer, that most cancers are preventable with early detection, and that families looking after the patient can be profoundly strained, not just financially, but psychologically as well. On Seneco Life Let's Talk today is exhibiting artist, photographer and writer Nathalie Souza, who at the age of 40 was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer in May this year. She's already undergone various treatments, including chemotherapy at the Maharagama Cancer Hospital, and just yesterday, that was Thursday, this week, underwent surgery for a double mastectomy. A single parent with a little son, it was Nathalie's network of friends who stepped in to look after her son whenever she underwent treatment or was too tired emotionally or physically. There is no support network otherwise for a mother, let alone a single mother, who has no family to lean on. The system itself is not geared for the increasing numbers walking through their doors daily. And the story of a woman fighting the big C is never seen or told. So being a photographer, Nathalie decided to document the process, every stage of her fight, her treatment and her emotional journey. Whether it was her falling hair, her changing body, her seesawing emotional state, and her abject exhaustion. There were 3 reasons she did this. 1 was to let other women know what it's like. 2 was to encourage women and men to seek early detection. And 3, to let her son know that his mother's love for him was so strong, she would fight the big C for all she was worth. Nathalie, you were diagnosed in May this year. How have you coped both physically and mentally?
Coping is like a many-layered thing because there are so many changes that have happened to me, and I'm still coping, that's the term, because I'm still going through this process. You know, first you lose your hair, you lose your eyebrows, you lose your eyelashes, and if you have breast cancer that's advanced, like in my case, you're also losing your breasts, and that's a permanent loss. And for me, that has been a loss of identity. So coping is an everyday thing, and it doesn't happen the same way every day. But I have an end goal in mind. I'm a single mom, and wanting to raise my son and wanting to watch him grow up, that's the end goal. So I keep reminding myself of that, and that's been the strength of the coping. Yeah.
So what is the support you got, both from the system and from around you?
Okay. Well, support is a two-way street, right? There is the support and the love that you're surrounded with, and in that sense I'm so grateful and privileged to be loved by the people who love me, because I have not wanted for anything. My son has not wanted for anything during this process. There has been somebody to hold my hand every time I have cried, and I have never felt alone, and that's amazing privilege, and I'm so grateful to have that system that I do. But there is another system, which is, you know, the healthcare system, and I'm very reluctant to use the word healthcare because I see very little room for care. Yes, we have access to free medical facilities, but everybody is overtaxed. Nurses are grumpy, doctors are snappy, and I don't even blame them. We are going through, in our country alone, there are at least 25,000 people diagnosed with cancer every year, and thousands of those are women. And when there's one hospital to care for 25,000 new patients annually, you can imagine how taxed the system is. So that's where I think we need much better government handles on healthcare, because there is no care, there is medical facilities, and there's no room for care. And long-term illnesses like cancer or HIV, or those things come with a lot of emotional baggage attached to it, and the care factor is so much more necessary, you know.
So you worked with the government or the public sector healthcare system, which I put in inverted commas. How did that work for you?
It has worked in the sense that I've had access to all my medical needs, my chemotherapy, my surgery, my hospital stay. Those things get covered, and for that I'm really grateful, because not everybody can afford the millions it will cost to do this privately. And having this alternative has been really great.
You're scheduled for a double mastectomy. Does that also cover reconstructive surgery for you?
Not always, because that is a choice made by the surgeon. And usually I think that happens based on the age that you are. I don't think it's too much of a consideration for women in their 20s, for instance, which is also less frequent. We don't see as many women in their 20s as we see in their 40s and 50s and 60s having breast cancer. So it's not always an option. And I think, again, that's where we need to have more finances and have more resources available to women, because losing your breasts is like losing, it's not vanity, it's losing your identity. And as a mom, that means a lot more to me. And I think those things need to be considered in this healthcare chain that is not being considered at the moment. I mean, women, our government and our government healthcare system tends to assume that women in their 50s, for instance, might not be having an active sex life or having, any opportunities to require their breasts. So automatically women, in the high age bracket automatically don't get considered for reconstruction, and unless you can afford to do so privately, you have to live without your breasts. At 40, I fall into this in-between bracket, so it's quite wishy-washy as to what's going to happen with me. But yes, my surgeon has refused reconstruction, and I have to look into alternate possibilities to do so.
What's the single most lesson you learned through all this?
We need to talk about the emotional side of long-term illnesses more. A lot of cancer survivors, and there are a lot of cancer survivors in the world, and in Sri Lanka as well, need to talk about their experience. But we also come from a very reticent, very shy culture where we don't want to talk about it. And once you're over this very harrowing process, it feels like I don't want to dig up that old wound. But what happens is, every time a new cancer patient is diagnosed, they are also left grappling in the dark of how to address all of these things. What is it like to lose your hair? What is it like to lose a breast? I think no one tells you that. They tell you have to lose your breast. They tell you that your hair is going to fall out. But there's a huge emotional journey that someone diagnosed with cancer is going through, and I think because the system is already so overtaxed, it then falls on us as citizens or cancer survivors to let other people know how it feels, so that they don't feel alone through the process. So I mean, that's something that as a photographer, I've decided to actually actively do this. I've been photographing and documenting my whole experience from my diagnosis through this whole process, because I want to let at least other people know, because a lot of women were diagnosed with breast cancer this year. A lot more women will get diagnosed with breast cancer next year. So I'm hoping that maybe providing these real stories of how I feel through this process, how difficult it has been to be a single mom in a country like Sri Lanka and go through this process, how wonderful it has been to have support, how terribly alone you feel through some of it, because unless someone else has gone through it, they're never going to know what that feels like. So I'm hoping that my being able to tell this very personal story of mine so visually will at some point help other women diagnosed with cancer, other women and men diagnosed with breast cancer, in the coming years find some kind of solace and something to relate to in the emotional space.
According to a study done by the WHO in 2018, breast cancer tops the list of top 5 cancers. Quantifiably, we know that incidences of cancer are increasing, and breast cancer in particular is. But even with that information, it is one of those things that we believe won't touch us until it does. Thank you, Natalie Souza, for joining us on Selingco Life Let's Talk. And here's wishing our brave cancer warrior a speedy recovery. If you'd like to watch the full programs of Kaleidoscope, log on to our YouTube channel, Kaleidoscope with Savitri Rodrigo.
With Selingco Life Pension Saver, Sri Lanka's premier retirement plan, start planning for a retirement today. Selingco Life, a relationship for life.